Welcome back to the David Pakman Show. It's Thursday. It's time for Worldview with Denis Campbell. Denis is with us. He's editor-in-chief of UK Progressive Magazine, also author of the new ebook, The Vagina Wars, the GOP's War on Women. Denis, always a pleasure to talk to you. I want to pick up where we kind of left off last week, and I think start with where are really the differences between the average American political campaign and the average political campaign in Europe, maybe Britain, maybe France?
Well, when you have a general election campaign here, you're not voting for the executive, obviously the president. You're voting for your local member of parliament. And in theory, the party leader then becomes the prime minister. The election cycle is a very short one. It's 90 days in total here in the United Kingdom. And you're limited as a member of parliament to spending no more than £10,000, which is about 16,000 US dollars. And there are no television adverts. So if you can imagine the BBC and all the commercial networks set aside a block of time for party statements, but everything else is done by going house to house out on what are called the hustings. And they go from door to door with leaflets, and they try to talk to as many of the constituents in their district that they can. And they also participate in town hall meetings where all of the candidates are there. They're questioned by the media, they're questioned by their constituents.
Okay, so how, if they're not spending money on TV advertisements, but they have this £10,000 budget, does that basically go towards the printed paper materials? I mean, where else is money spent during these campaigns?
Exactly. It mostly goes towards those leaflets that I was talking about, the printing of them, the distribution of them. You have lots of teams of people that are out there. There are filing fees, but it's not a lot of money, and it does no good. I mean, you don't have, as you do in the States. I was reading something this morning, where literally 1/2 of the time of your representative in Congress or the Senate is spent out there fundraising, trying to generate cash to pay for the $8 billion that are going to be spent in your election. It's not like that here at all. They basically just spend what they need. They get the printed paper, and surprise, people in this country actually do read. So you do have a lot of people that actually read newspapers, they read commentary, they read various websites, they go to the party website, they go to the individual's website, and they get a fairly good idea in these town hall meetings as to who the candidates are and what their issues are.
So when you talk about the average campaign, is it even a full-time job campaigning for a lot of these? I mean, it sounds like with the elimination of needing to raise money, that takes up so much of your time. I don't know if they're filling that time or it's just not even full-time.
It's not even full time. As a matter of fact, there's a number of theories here in this part of the world that the only time your member of parliament cares about you is during that 90-day period when you're actually having to go out there and ask for their vote. It's sort of like that old joke of the difference between heaven and hell. Yesterday we were campaigning, today you voted for us. It's the same sort of situation here. And indeed, if you look at some of the more privileged members, the more class members here, they really hate the idea of having to go out and interact with the commoners. There was a big ruckus a few years back about expenses, and they were banned from traveling in the first class compartment of trains. And several of the Conservative or Tory members said, no way we're going to do that, to ride back with the commoners. So,
give us a quick tie-in to what's going on in France now and how the differences in campaigns are really evident there.
I was watching a report just the other day from one of the commentators there, and they were absolutely blown away by, again, the fact that there is no political advertising allowed on television in France. They're now to the point where Sarkozy and Hollande are going to actually be in a runoff, and it looks very likely that Sarkozy is going to lose the election. But you're not allowed to campaign. And the interesting thing, and the way they get around even television appearances during the course of a campaign, is that they say that you not only must have equal time, but you must have time in the same time slot. So they basically, it's a trap law. They basically make it impossible for candidates to go on television during the actual campaign itself.
That's incredible. And I mean, there are equal time laws here in the U.S., but so often what actually happens is that there's so many media outlets which actually try to use the equal time law to draw in the incumbent, who many times isn't even interested in engaging in debate because they want to basically just shut out their lesser known challengers. So it's fascinating how the equal time laws can actually work in reverse many times.
We have the same thing here. I mean, literally, I'll be on the BBC and I'll be doing a segment with them, and they'll say, please don't mention any of the parties because then we've got to bring them in for equal time. I literally see the floor manager with a stopwatch on every one of the candidates to make sure if a Lib Dem gets 90 seconds, a Tory gets 90 seconds, a member of the Labour Party gets 90 seconds. It's absolutely that crazed. And when it comes actually time to casting votes, we don't have any of the sophisticated voting machinery. It's all done by paper ballot, and it's not against an arbitrary deadline of the 11 p.m. news. So every vote is counted, and very often you don't get decisions until 5, 6, 7 a.m. the next morning because you go through the exact same process in every one of the constituencies. The ballots are counted, they're sorted, they're set aside. And, it's a much more fair system. Even casting absentee ballots, those are the ones that are opened first at the stroke of 10 when the polls actually close. So I actually feel confident that votes are actually being counted.
Well, hey, in the U.S., we may get quick results, but we may not get the real results for days or even weeks. So, it's
Exactly.
6 of one, half dozen of the other. We've been speaking with Denis Campbell, editor-in-chief of UK Progressive Magazine. The new ebook is The Vagina Wars, the GOP's war on women. Where can people find that, Denis?
You can find that in the Kindle store and Amazon. And if you don't have a Kindle, it's okay. Kindle has a number of readers that you can use on your PC, on your tablet, as well as on your phone. So it's a fairly good platform.
Okay, thanks, Denis. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you. Bye bye now.